Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to break down exactly how to take your standard AI outputs and transform them into absolute Hollywood-level cinematic magic using Luma's fade transitions. Now, if you've been messing around with AI filmmaking, you already know the tech is just breathtaking. But there's a massive difference between generating a cool image and crafting a scene that actually feels like it belongs on the big screen, right? So today we're bridging that gap. We're going to deconstruct the exact prompting frameworks that'll take you from a flat, basic generation to a truly rich, immersive experience. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's dive into this. Have you ever wondered why your basic city to sunset transition just kind of feels artificial, a bit stiff? You type in a prompt, the AI gives you exactly what you asked for, but when it actually moves, it just feels a little off. It suffers from that weird uncanny valley effect. Basically, it lacks the soul, the weight, and the physical constraints of a real camera moving through a real physical environment. That robotic feel, it's the dead giveaway of an amateur AI generation, and it's exactly what we're going to eliminate today.
We really need to move away from that jarring, weightless generation and step into seamless, professional movie quality. When you look at standard AI output, it honestly feels like it exists in a vacuum. But true Hollywood-level cinematic output, it has texture, it has atmosphere, it has specific lighting and camera physics that our brains have quite literally been trained to recognize over the past 100 years of watching movies.
So here's our roadmap for today. First up, the cinematic AI formula. Second, mastering cinematic motion. Third, directing the virtual camera. Fourth, crafting atmospheric depth. And finally, achieving high-end quality.
All right, Section 1, the cinematic AI formula.
Now, having a fade feature alone is kind of like having a really nice oven, but absolutely no ingredients. True cinematic output requires a very deliberate combination. Realistic lighting sets the mood, detailed prompts act as your director's megaphone, and technical standards ensure that high-end output. When you combine these, you stop crossing your fingers and hoping for a good result. You actually engineer one.
Moving right along to Section 2, mastering cinematic motion.
Take a second to think about this specific number, 24. 24 frames per second. This right here is the undeniable standard for Hollywood movies. Ever since the 1920s, our eyes and our brains have been conditioned to associate 24 frames per second with professional storytelling. So when AI tools default to smoother, higher frame rates, or sometimes uneven ones, it immediately feels like a soap opera, a video game, or just a weird glitch.
But by explicitly prompting for 24 FPS motion in your tools, you're ensuring your transitions move with that organic, familiar cadence of a professional film. You're basically telling the AI's rendering engine, hey, don't give me that hyper-smooth digital motion. Give me the slight, beautiful motion blur and the rhythm of a physical film camera. Honestly, this single addition is very often the magical cure for that robotic AI feel.
Up next is Section 3, Directing the Virtual Camera.
Think about this for a second. If you're transitioning into a photorealistic city, injecting advanced camera terms forces the AI to construct a much more sophisticated, dynamic visual language. Take the dolly zoom, for example. You've definitely seen this. It's that famous cinematic effect where the camera physically moves forward while zooming out, or vice versa. It creates this incredible sense of vertigo and deep spatial awareness. When you prompt for a dolly zoom, you're literally forcing the AI to render true three-dimensional parallax instead of just lazily panning across a flat 2D image. And similarly, adding the term anamorphic lens to your enhanced visual prompts signals the AI to mimic high-end optical properties rather than flat digital ones. Anamorphic lenses are exactly what give blockbuster films that ultra-wide aspect ratio, those beautiful oval background blurs, and of course, those signature horizontal lens flares. So by literally typing anamorphic lens right into your prompt, you're essentially hacking the AI. You're telling it to dig into its training data of blockbuster films and apply those exact optical imperfections to your Luma transition. It's an instant prestige boost for your shot.
Let's jump to Section 4, Crafting Atmospheric Depth.
The sources specifically emphasize that relying on volumetric lighting and volumetric fog is absolutely the best way to create a palpable, dramatic atmosphere in your scene. And you've seen this in real life, like when sunlight streams through a dusty window or streetlights cut through a really dense fog. You aren't just seeing the light hit an object, you're actually seeing the light travel through the air itself.
Without these keywords, a city-to-sunset transition is really just two flat images awkwardly crossfading into each other. But throw in volumetric terms, and suddenly, the sunset's rays actually interact with the geometry of the city. The light scatters. It creates a physical space that you feel like you could walk right into. It's a total game changer.
And that brings us to Section 5, Achieving High-End Quality.
So, the crucial point here is visually stacking these exact keywords in your prompt: Red Cinema cameras, Unreal Engine quality, and 8K photorealistic. Now, why these specific words? Well, in the AI's massive training data set, these terms are intrinsically linked to the absolute highest tier of professional color grading, razor-sharp resolution, and impeccable CGI rendering. You're essentially using these keywords as a BIP pass. You're telling the AI to bypass all that amateur, smartphone quality data and exclusively pull from its most premium, high-fidelity visual libraries.
All right, let's bring this all together. By chronologically layering these 4 distinct pillars, you're building an unbreakable foundation. Step 1, ground the movement by prompting 24 FPS motion. Step 2, add optical sophistication by specifying terms like anamorphic or dolly zoom. Step 3, breathe life into the scene with volumetric lighting. And finally, Step 4, wrap the whole thing in premium texture with red and 8K quality terms. By stacking this formula, you ensure your Luma fade transition isn't just some cheap gimmick. It becomes a true masterclass in cinematic realism.
Armed with this highly specific, highly effective formula for breaking out of those robotic generations, the ball is entirely in your court. The tools, they're no longer the limitation. Your imagination is. So I have to ask, how are you going to use these cinematic principles to redefine your own AI filmmaking projects? What Hollywood masterpiece are you going to prompt next? Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and happy creating.